Hello, Flickin' Fanatics. We apologize for the delay. Welcome to a Saturday morning SwiftWings, Speakeasy, and all the other alliteration aside. Welcome, one and all, to the Whatever Show, where we talk about whatever we feel like and hope you throw money at us. Today's episode is going to be a little bit speakeasy, a little bit news and views. We're just going to make an amalgamation, throw it all together, and what better way to do that than to have a special guest, Mr. Luke from Galaxy Geeks. So he'll be helping us break down Miss Marvel, Stranger Things, and then watch us gush about all the gory gushiness of the boys. So let's get into it. Play that intro. Where's it at? There she is. Hey, my screen's been frozen for the last 15 seconds. So everybody, welcome to the SwiftWings Speakeasy on this fine Saturday morning. I'll unmute everybody's mics. Luke, welcome to the show.
I'm good with that.
Have you, let's see, I'm trying to think. We've had some fundraisers and stuff. Have you been on the show before?
Nope, this is my very first time. Eli was on one of the Speakeasies about a month ago, but not me.
Welcome. Well, welcome.
We got
a lot to talk about today. This is just everything thrown together. We have done a couple times a weekend review show. We've had our speakeasy. We've had news and views. And there was just so much that we needed time to watch it. So we didn't have time to do our shows. And so here we are. And just so everyone knows everything that we're talking about, whether it be Miss Marvel, The Boys, Stranger Things, all spoilers. We're talking about that Hellfire Club goodness, the Clandestine, the Red Daggers. Hero Gasm was last week, but we still might talk about it a little bit.
We could talk about it.
We could talk about it. I don't know if we'll get pulled down for talking details, but thank you for joining us so much, both Luke and Sean, of course. By the way, I'm Jesse Swift. That's Sean Wingblade. You guys know the deal. We've been here before, probably. If you haven't been here, make sure to subscribe. Also, we like money. That's why there's that link down there on the bottom, streamlabs.com/flickandreel. If you want to support the show, that's a great way to do it, and we appreciate every time somebody does that. Oh, by the way, if you do donate, Sean, or maybe Luke, will attempt our very best ASMR impression while reading off your Streamlabs. I just got to figure out a way to get to Luke if that happens. But yeah, so donate. We'll try to do that.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
It's an ASMR.
Yes.
So I've realized every time I try to say ASMR quickly, I add an N in there. And I haven't ASMR. It's a whole seminar that's audio only. ASMR.
ASMR. Yeah, that's perfect. You know what? I should pull that web page up just in case anyone's feeling froggy. I'm going to actually have the Streamlabs up so I know if one comes in.
That's probably something we probably should do with our channel. I just have never set up a Streamlabs.
Couple plugs to do before we get going. Another amazing, awesome episode of You've Never Seen It with Allison Salamoni is on our audio platforms. It's on our YouTube. Make sure to check that out. Special guest Moose Haas. And speaking of Moose, that perfectly transitions into the other thing I want to plug. I got to face off against Moose Haas in an episode of Settle the Score this week. It was both of our debuts on the show. And without talking result spoilers, I know Sean's seen it. Fun match. Good match. It was all right.
It was a great match. You guys were toe-to-toe the entire time. It comes down to the final question. So if you haven't watched Settle the Score, it's my favorite show on the YouTubes, and it's a blast. And I'm a score junkie anyway. And Jesse knows this. Every time I write a practice match, there like every third question is something about a score or a song. And whenever we're doing like Schmodown training and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a blast. Settle the Score is a really fun show. I've been on it twice now, and I can't wait to go on it again because I feel like I heard my ears burn and someone was calling me out after their own match.
Sean loves music and scores. I'm a quote guy. Together we know some things about movies.
Yes. That's what we come here for.
with that, let's crack into our first topic, one we want to get out of the way, so that Luke can really dive in with us on our other two topics. Let's talk about the boys. Sean, we really wants to touch up on some. All right, get that overlay up. Your computer's faster than mine.
Okay, you still got the Dutch angle going, which I do appreciate. Let's put that up.
I felt like it was appropriate for Stranger Things, but then I'm starting to get used to it. It makes it a little more dynamic. Look, check me out. I'm Thor, directed by Kenneth Branagh.
You are every William Bibiani Shimodan match.
That's right. That's how we live on. We live on in his name. All right, guys. So we're going to talk about the penultimate, as fans of Mark Ellis might say, episode of The Boys, titled. I don't know. It was the 7th episode.
This wasn't Herogasm, right? That was last week's episode. You know what? Let me find out. Just this is what you come here for. Professionalism, preparedness. Okay.
What's the episode title?
Luke's our new producer. We're bringing him on right now. We're going to make that executive decision. He's going to help produce the show.
So he does have to get a new backdrop, though. We didn't ask for shameless promotion of Galaxy Geeks on this show.
That's why I have my background the way it is.
Perfect. So last week's episode was Herogasm, and we haven't been breaking down episodes on their own. We could just talk about the season as a whole, but we're definitely seeing a change from, I guess, we're looking at Starlight's story and how she was, so enamored by the glitz and glamour of like being in the 7, and that's what we've been rolling with for like the entirety of the first 3 seasons. And now she's finally breaking out. She's like, oh yeah, you guys are all assholes, I'm out of here. Like, we're done with this.
Starlight, I almost said Star-Lord. Starlight has bigger brass cojones than just about anyone else on the show this season.
Yeah,
and I'm here for it. And it's funny from the outside looking in. If you've never really watched The Boys, you might think it's just a shock value gore show off. But there's so much character work that's done in this show. There's so much commentary on our real life. I found out recently that there's a large group of people that just found out Homelander's the villain. So I found that to be entertaining.
Really? I haven't even fully watched it. I know he's the villain. I mean, come on.
Well,
the episode is Here Comes a Candle to Light You to Bed.
That's funny. I never even looked at the episode title at all watching. I was just like, next episode of The Boys. Click.
Right.
We get to, follow up with where Maeve is. Maeve is being kept by Homelander. And Homelander has some very dark, disgusting plans for Maeve. I'm worried about Maeve. I'm worried about a lot of people in this show.
I think they're trying to make an upcoming commentary on something with that situation. I almost guarantee it.
It's possible.
Sure.
They've been really on top of doing those commentaries and things like that. And for the most part, I'm like, hey, I like what you're doing here.
Yeah, but that's what the show does perfectly, though. So they're just like, oh, what's going on in real life? All right, well, let's just essentially write that, because nothing's more ridiculous than what's happening in the world on a routine basis, which is sad to say. But I like what they're doing with Homelander. And too, I agree with Maeve. I'm worried for her well-being, or I'm worried because at the beginning of the last episode specifically, they put a disclaimer up that said, hey, you're gonna see you're gonna see on screen suicide. And they put a disclaimer at the very beginning of the episode. There are so many storylines that you could have seen going that way, with the way the characters are going, where they're just like, and the way the boys never keeps that, you never know what's going to happen next. Like, they constantly keep you guessing with just a random swerve. Like, all right, it's very, I guess just to pull from like Game of Thrones, where,
I was going to say Game of Thrones.
In an instant, you have no idea what character is just going to just walk off a curb and boom, they eat it. And then, oh, that character storyline is just dead, just like real life. You know what I mean? Like, you could just get in a car accident one day and your story's over, and that could happen. And I think The Boys does an excellent job at keeping up with that type of stress level. It keeps the audience on their seats, and they do a lot of great things like that.
The last season's better than the last season of not Stranger, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Speaking of like character specifics, what do you think is going to be the breaking point for A-Train?
I thought this was.
I thought he was dead last episode, but turns out he's not. And the fact that they used Blue Hawk's heart to fix his failing heart, I was like, that's rough.
Yeah.
And Vought, of course, continuing to try to manipulate him and then like come up with this bogus telling of his life story movie. And there's got to be a point where like he's made bad decision after bad decision. I would think everything that went down with Blue Hawk should be the breaking point where he just says F Vought.
You would think so. You would think so, but he continues to do that because Supersonic and Starlight gave him a chance, a few episodes ago to join their cause to fight Homelander, and he gave him up because he just continued to go back to that like abusive relationship, and thinking that he's gonna get kudos or whatever. So yeah, maybe this is finally the breaking point, especially with his brother getting injured. And I think he's currently paralyzed. I don't think they said he died or anything yet. He's still in the hospital. So I wonder, I mean, I could see something like maybe I could either see it going two ways. He genuinely tries to turn it around, and maybe he even gives his brother some compound V so he can get, get better essentially. And then they start their own team type of thing, cleaning up the
interesting
Compton? No.
With a new heart,
Strandon.
With a new heart, he can run again. He kind of he heals. It sounds like he's got his powers back. Also, I feel like I cannot be the only person that every time there's a scene with the Deep, I'm watching like this.
I've seen too many clips of that. Oh,
if there's a scene with the Deep, my only question ever in my head is, what is he gonna fuck next? That's that's just how it goes. So
there's a fine line between loving your seafood and whatever's happening there.
Right.
The things he does with his fish stick make me very uncomfortable. Let's see who else am I not? I'm ready for the Huey and Starlight stuff to fizzle out because it just is like, what are they arguing about this episode?
Right.
It's a weekly routine. Honestly, I think one of the highlights for me of this episode was how much backstory we got of Billy Butcher.
Yes, seeing what actually happened with his brother.
With Lenny,
yeah, that was brutal to see, and we already knew a bit about his dad and how much John Noble played his father. I don't know, last season or the season before, but and how much of a dick he was. You could tell, why Butcher is the way he is. But getting to see actually watching what happened and how much it affected Butcher. And as soon as he wakes up from that fever dream he was in, he sees Huey and he's like, I'm so sorry, just basically apologizing for all the shit he's put him through. Whether or not that changes, we'll see, because we see later in the episode.
Exactly.
Yeah, where he was warned about the temporary V, and he definitely didn't bring it up. And they're already bleeding from their brain goo is leaking out of their ears. Ooh. every time they take the temporary V.
Starlight's stuff. Like 3 or 4 times or 3 or 5 times can kill you. He's done it at least 5 times.
We've seen Butcher do it 4 times. We've seen Huey do it at least 3 times. And I think if I was trying to count back as soon as that scene happened, I was counting back in my head trying to figure it out.
Another big talking point would be Soulja Boy, Jensen Ackles. Took us a while to get there, but now we got a whole lot of them in every episode. I think he's crushing the role. He is despicable, but there's something endearing about him because it is Jensen Ackles. He's fun to watch. And we said full spoilers here. This is right there. The boys spoilers at the end of the episode. It's one of the things I want to definitely touch on. I got where they were going right before they made it like very clear. We find out that Soulja Boy basically is Homelander's dad.
Right.
And
essentially his clone. I mean, if you think of it that way, I guess in the same sense that X-23 is Logan's, or the other way around, right? The X-23 is Logan's kid. Same concept.
What's interesting there is because I know from the comics, Black Noir is actually a clone of Homelander. And so that's basically where they're getting it from.
They definitely went a different direction with Black Noir, who we got a
I
lot
didn't know
more backstory on Black Noir, or at least Amazon's Black Noir, I'll say, because like you said, Black Noir's story is very different in the comics.
Right. So yeah, he's been around much longer.
Yeah, and that was interesting. It almost gave me Deadpool vibes with him like hanging out with the cartoons, while the cartoons are telling him his backstory back to him.
I like that though. It was a good way to see kind of where he is, I suppose, because he definitely got messed up back in the 80s, I think is when that scene happened.
Yeah. Because I think Soulja Boy went missing in like 84, 86, something like that.
Yeah. And we only saw him like basically, if I remember right, we only saw his face getting burnt, and we're like, I thought maybe Black Noir was like a mantle, like it would have been a different person. But then we saw that scene. I'm like, okay, no, so he's just mentally, or maybe he can't talk. But no, then we see in this cartoon scene, if it was true to life, that Soulja Boy took a chunk of his brain out with how much he was smashing him in.
Beat the brain out of him.
So it's more than him just not being able to talk. He can't, think properly. He's damaged. So that was interesting. I like the way they did it though. It definitely fit well for his character, and kind of because we've never really seen his mental state and where he's at.
Also, on the note of Amazon, it reminded me a little bit of some of the more graphic nature of Invincible.
Yeah,
such a good show. Such a good show.
Yeah,
wait for the second season of that.
Right.
So yeah, pretty great episode. We got one more left. It seems like we're finale after finale, right? It's like boom, Obi-Wan, boom, Stranger Things, boom, The Boys, and then we are 2 more episodes of Miss Marvel, and then we'll have a finale of that.
Yep.
And we're gonna be rolling into starting Andor, starting She-Hulk, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. It's just like I keep saying,
Westworld just started. Westworld just started last week, and a new episode tomorrow. Yeah.
Remember when you were growing up, summer, you would not have any new shows whatsoever until the fall. Now that's gone.
Yeah.
Right. And then we got movies in between then. Today is the 1st of July or 2nd of July, which means we are 5 days. We're very close to whatever math it takes to get the Thor Love and Thunder. Thank you. Yeah. Thursday night. So that's a lot of fun. I got
Thursday night.
A long time ago. Yeah. I commented on this post on Twitter, and it's like, congratulations, you've been put on a list. We'll let you know when Thor comes out. I'm like, I got my tickets 2 weeks ago, you dude.
I'm so happy I ain't got to worry about that where I'm from. Being from a small town, you can get tickets any day of the week.
Yeah, so next week we got the finale of The Boys, the week after finale of Miss Marvel, and then rolling in. We got so much to do.
And yeah, so
cool.
I don't know. You might see a lot more shows like this where it's just like cram sessions, because nobody's got time to make 6 separate shows a week. I mean, some people do, but they don't work 40, 50-hour jobs. All right. Well, that wraps up our conversation of The Boys. Let us know what you thought of The Boys in the comments down below.
Thanks for your shameless plug, Matt. Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk about the season finale next week for sure. We'll talk about it on Speakeasy or maybe we'll just do a season review show type of thing.
We'll probably, I'll be up for it, I imagine. We'll try to get a Thor review of some kind up like that night, maybe. I'm going to try. If nothing else, I'll do a short or something like that. But then we'll talk about The Boys, like Sean said, probably on the Speakeasy Friday night or whatever. All right, guys, let's move on to our next big one. I know Luke is looking forward to talking about it, and I think Miss Marvel, overlay guy.
Yeah, let's do Miss Marvel. Before we get to Miss Marvel, though, I want to shout out to Matt. Hope you're feeling okay, buddy. You're stuck in your room because of COVID.
Oh, man.
We've been there. I've been there. I don't know if you guys have gotten COVID.
I have.
Yeah,
it was not fun.
It's not fun. Luckily, vaccinated, and it didn't hit me too hard. It was a couple sucky nights of sleep. But I would say Sudafed and ibuprofen and water, of course.
And make sure you're getting out of bed and walking. Walking is the best medicine.
If you can.
I was I was down hard for like the first day and a half, 2 days, and then I started walking once I could, because it's good for you to get outside. But honestly, aside from I wasn't Sudafed, I'm forgetting what I took, but I also just did like Vapor Rub. A lot of Vapor Rub on my chest.
I was getting sinus headaches because of the pressure, and the Sudafed just drained my nose and was able to open, and so it relieved a lot of the headache pressure. And then just staying hydrated, and the ibuprofen for whatever body aches you got going on. But hope you feel better, bud.
Yeah, feel better.
Sucks. We've all been there. All right. Next up, let's hop into Miss Marvel.
Yes.
Talk about this week. No slander on this show, Vapion. Miss Marvel's awesome. I genuinely think, and we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, the people who are not everyone, Vapion, I'm not taking a dig at you, but like everyone who is kind of like hating on Miss Marvel, I feel like is doing the, looking at the cover of the book, not actually reading the book type of thing. Like, don't judge it until you actually try it. This is so fun and just energetic, and I love the whole family dynamic. I love how bubbly. Iman Vellani is perfectly cast in this role in the same way, that Robert Downey Jr. was perfectly cast as Tony Stark. Like, it's just like, this just fits her character. And granted, I don't know a ton of her from the comic books, but I just played a little bit of her character that they portrayed in the video game. And she is such the perfect like fangirl and just like bubbly, just personality. And she's so damn charismatic. I love it.
They're playing a bit fast and loose with the power set, but as far as who Kamala is in the character, they've nailed 100%, no notes. And Iman Vellani is great casting. Like you said, I love what they're doing with the parents. I love this mystery that we're unraveling. And one of the fun things about them taking a hard right with the background of the powers is if you have read some comics or stuff about the character, it doesn't matter. You don't know what's going on. So like everything that we get is something new. And what's cool is some people are a lot harsher on that than others, but that's what we've had with the MCU all along. They've made changes. Civil War was not Civil War from the comics. Infinity War / like Infinity Gauntlet storylines vastly different than it is in the comics. So it's like, they take just hints and inspirations and create their own story. So I don't know why people decided that this was going to be the final straw.
Well, I think a lot of it is also, I think right now we are diving into the Marvel fatigue because we're coming off of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and some people liked it, some people didn't, but it's getting a lot of the similar backlash as The Last Jedi got, where you have one side who loved the movie and another side who absolutely hated it. And when a franchise is coming off of a semi-loss, semi-win, everyone gets sour on all the rest of their content. Because
everyone's an absolutionist, it feels like, in the fandoms, and it's unfortunate instead of giving everything its fair shake. But go ahead.
Well, remember the excitement everyone had after Spider-Man. I mean, people were like, "Oh, the MCU is back," and I think you had some. Yes, the MCU is going in different places, but I think you had too much different for the average audience because you had this show. I love this show, and I don't really count this as much, but you had Moon Knight, you had Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, you had the Eternals. All these movies, even though they're great and I loved all of them, they are different than an Iron Man movie or even a Thor movie. The audience is just not there yet. And so you're getting a bunch of new, and so everyone's not excited. And I think for Miss Marvel, I think it's an incredible show. I encourage anyone to watch it if they haven't. I love the family dynamics. I think the villains are pretty lackluster. I think the villains are really
for the most part, that hasn't been a strength, I think, in Marvel television. And Marvel itself has suffered off and on with a villain issue. So they're not dynamic. I've always thought the shows have been very character based, but it would they're not Vecna. We'll put it that way.
Right.
We'll talk about that a little later.
I think it. I wish that the yes, the new character, like the villains are kind of connected to her, but kind of sort of connected. It's not like a ton of connection there other than, oh, your great grandmother was my friend or something like that, or came from the same location. And so that's somewhat of a connection, but she's just evil to be evil, and her lackeys are acting like lackeys. There's no character behind her people helping her. They're just kind of there, and you didn't get enough time to really flesh out these characters. I wouldn't have minded if we had maybe, instead of doing 6 episodes of the show, done 8, and then 1 episode focused on the villain.
Give us a bottle episode of their backstory, type of whatever their motivations are. Other than, I don't disagree with that. I think that I'm I'm more on the positive side of loving everything they're doing with Miss Marvel herself, and this is her introduction. So yeah, these villains are kind of just like a stepping stone. Whatever they are to her is just for her to get to the Marvels whenever she joins up with the movie down the road.
And I
But
feel like the villains
that is-
are in service of the heroes.
Yeah, a little bit.
In
But
this story.
she showed up. There's a little bit of, oh, hey, we're here for you. No, just kidding, we're not. And then, but we don't know why, and why are you willing to destroy? Oh, we just have to get back to our universe, our dimension. Okay, but why are you willing to kill everyone else to do that? Type of thing.
Yeah.
We don't know that. So yeah, no, I don't disagree with you on that front. But I think that they're doing so much other positive stuff with her herself that it definitely outweighs, this. It's, I mean, if when you watch network television, you get the villain of the week, you get the villain of the season, and you know that your hero is going to have another season. So you just, you kind of just roll with that. And I think maybe that's where they're going with this, especially like you said, with 6 episodes. If they did 8, they could have done a good bottle episode to kind of give us a backstory.
8 at least 45-minute episodes. Like, don't shorten up. I was going to say WandaVision's my favorite. It had 9 episodes, but they were way too damn short.
Yeah, true.
Well,
So
I think
I would love 9 at this runtime.
Well, I think the 6 is just not working. I think all the shows that we've seen that have done 6, I don't think 6 is enough. You're getting, like, you're trying to get through the story. Like right now, I'm loving the characters that they're bringing in. I love the family aspect, but I do miss from the first episode her in school, her with her friends, like those character moments where she's trying to understand how she can deal with being in a
Matt, tell us why.
But you may have to fight because I have a lot to. Oh,
put it in the chat, Matt. Tell us.
Spicy. It's better yet, tell us on Streamlabs.
Like I think the friends aspect is a really strong positive part of the show, and the family part is really strong. But because you only have 6 episodes, you have to kind of put one in the background. Like this episode, you didn't have a friend at all there, and so.
Well, she met new friends.
Yeah, new friends that won't really, I don't think are going to really affect down the road.
I wonder if
have you guys
what was
seen
the dagger guy? What was the dagger guy's name? I wonder if Kareem, maybe. I wonder if he's going to go back with her to the States. Well, I guess we still leave off in Karachi, so she's still her present state is still in Karachi. So he's going to be in the next episode for sure. Whatever happens with her vision currently in the past, but I wonder if he might be a part for like the final battle or whatever happens.
That's
Have
what
you guys seen? There's like memes going around now that's Kamala's collecting guys like Infinity Stones. And listen, she's incredibly charming. If if I was a guy her age in school, I would think she was the most endearing thing in the world. So
Right.
Speaking of those guys, though, I really missed Bruno in this episode. I love Bruno as a character. Nakia, I'm really falling for. So yeah, they have 2 episodes, about 40 minutes. We got an hour and a half of this show left. That doesn't feel like a lot. Like I said, I love everything they're doing. And the pacing for most of these shows kind of usually feels really good until you get to the last couple, and then it's like, and wrap it up. One of the benefits with this that, and I'm a bigger fan of Moon Knight than most people, but what was hard about that one is it felt like it had to be a complete story in 6 episodes. And what Miss Marvel benefits from is it just has to get to her jumping off point. It doesn't have to be a complete story. It has to get her to the Marvels. So I feel like it has less to achieve or a little less pressure. And I'm hoping that they do a really great job with it. The writing so far has been really great. It's been a lot of fun. This is kind of Marvel's Ted Lasso as far as like feel good viewing. And with stuff like Stranger Things and The Boys, that's a lot heavier. I really look forward to my weekly episode of Miss Marvel because it's kind of like my breath,
Yeah.
When Obi-Wan Matt's comments?
Yeah, it seemed like he was waiting for another comment, so I was going to read all 3 at the same time. But I don't disagree with that, and I think that the pacing of this show and her friends and her backstory, this, that, the other, is way better than, not to dog on Obi-Wan, but it really seemed like they took an Obi-Wan movie and stretched it out over 6 episodes, versus this is actually being written with a a chapter for each episode that we are getting fleshed out over instead of stretching out one movie with 3 acts and making each act 2 episodes type of thing, which is I feel like the pacing is much better, and we're getting just enough intrigue and just enough mystery to keep us coming back and enjoying the ride along the way. I did want to pull up before, I don't know if Matt's done with his thoughts, but Miss Marvel, true. Kamala's only had a few years to build villains, so that's not wrong what you're saying, Vapion. Spider-Man had so long, and they're very similar characters. You got high school, you got kids, you got budding kid going through changes and trying to learn about their body and their power. So very similar in that aspect. So I think a lot of time. And this is only one show, and then she's going to join a team essentially, with a few other Marvels in the next movie, or when she moves on. Haskell, thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate you. Let's see, Matt.
Well, you are late for the Miss Marvel talk, but you might be right on time for the Stranger Things talk, which will be rolling
maybe
fairly soon.
All right, Matt had ideas. Let's see what he had. Here's the issue: fans are acting like we knew what Phase 1 was going to lead to the Infinity Saga. We didn't know what it was going to be until the end credits of Avengers. Very true.
I've been saying something very similar to that.
Right. So there's revisionist history going on in the MCU fandom. A complaint, as I keep seeing, people don't like know where they're going franchise. But if you pick up a book, you have an idea where this is going. People are impatient, and that's becoming detriment to the entertainment industry, the whole binge watch model, which is why it needs to die. And rant.
I agree with the statement. I actually do agree, but here is the difference between the Phase 1 model and what we're dealing with. Oh, yeah. Here's the difference between the Phase 1 model and what we're dealing with now. The Phase 1 model was very grounded. You didn't know what was coming, but you were okay because it was very grounded feeling. You didn't have this mass multiverse idea. You didn't have all these characters coming. You don't have all this huge universe. You were doing movie by movie. Mm-hmm. You didn't really know what the final plan was, but you were still enjoying each movie because it was so grounded. Now everyone's like, oh, what's coming? There seems to be, they're hinting at something massive, but we don't know. We're getting so much information, so many shows, so many things like around it that there is no cohesive. I would feel like you have Moon Knight, which was a great show. I actually like Moon Knight, but Moon Knight has no connection whatsoever, and you don't know how it's connected with a Miss Marvel.
That's okay.
I'm okay with it, but most of your everyday fans, like my dad, I think of my dad whenever I look at like the everyday Marvel fan. He's going to watch the shows no matter what. He's going to like everything no matter what. But it can get confusing after a while if there isn't a laid out plan within the movies to show, okay, there is a final thing that we're leading
to. Feige said that will become a lot clearer in the coming months. Mm-hmm. And the analogy that I've been using a lot, to the point where, if you watch the show often, you probably think it's a skipping record. But if you go to a comic book store and you go to the Marvel section and you pick out a few comics, they're not all related, but you might get a crossover episode. With the first Avengers movie, that was our big splash page crossover thick special comic, right? And now people want just those. Almost. And there's some people on there, I'll call him out because he annoys the hell out of me. Soups Online is just
everyone hates him. Wow.
Because he's a hype mongerer. Like, he only wants hype. He's like, oh, I wish there was an audio track that you could play on No Way Home when you have it at home so you can feel like you're in the theater again. I was like, you just want moments. You don't want movies. And I think, like Matt brought up, it's a detriment. And they only want these big moments, or the biggest episode, so people won't care, and then the finale happens, like, oh, that was the best show. You've been crap talking it for 5 episodes, and so he did that with Obi-Wan. So that's a whole nother point.
I don't know who you're talking about. You'll have to send me some of his tweets, or don't, because I don't really care, to be honest.
He's on TikTok all over. He's got a huge following.
I think so. Just to point out what Matt said, though. Yes, it's about building a universe. The thing is, and this is maybe where I'm in the middle. I don't disagree, but they have had 31, 32 properties now of building the universe. And creating a mindset around their fandom and the people who are so invested from 2008 when this whole thing started with the MCU, that maybe it's on them as the producers. I'm not talking about the shows themselves or the movies themselves. Maybe it's on them as producers to set the proper expectations for what is coming next. And I don't mean villain wise. I mean, okay, hey, what's coming next is we're going back to square one. Like literally someone do an interview, and maybe Kevin Feige has said this and I missed it, or maybe showrunners or producers or directors have said this. But like for them setting the proper expectation, like, hey, we're not gonna see the big bad for 2 or 3 movies or shows. Maybe, we're gonna just we're gonna show you these contained individual stories, and maybe down the road you'll see them in a team up movie years down the way. And I think that might do well to ease the fans' expectations going into series and movies like this, where we don't want them all to be intertwined. And but I don't disagree that I want that all. Yeah. I'm just not bitching about it as well. And with a fandom that is currently, the fandom that's currently on episode 4 of a 6-episode show, and it's this is the worst thing ever. I don't even know all the answers yet. Yeah, well, no shit. You're only 2/3 of the way into the movie. Stay around for the next the rest of the movie.
People did that for like every Game of Thrones, Severance, like any of the big popular shows. It's just much like what happened with Star Wars and what's happening with a lot of the comic-based, IP-based programs, is people just want to know it all or act like they know it all. And it's getting really toxic in anything that's being adapted. I think if it's not a wholly original idea, they don't let them get away with anything, and they have no patience. And it's frustrating because we didn't get that with Stranger Things. We waited and saw how it played out.
Also, like how I kind of look at it is almost in the real world. All right, in the 90s to early 2000s, everything was we always talk about nostalgia, how the 90s was such a great era. The 90s really ended at 9/11. And so you look at phase 1, 2, and 3 as this really great era where you knew kind of what was going on. There was these great stories, but like they were leading to something. And in the real world, you had the 90s where everything was nice and everything was exciting, and everything else. Then 9/11 hits. Everything in the world changed. Airports changed. Everything changed. And so we're seeing that within the Marvel universe, where we hit the big event and now everyone is scrambled. You have depression, you have trauma, you have all these really dark situations for these characters, and we're being reminded as a audience of our own trauma, of our own depression, of our own. We're not able to escape. That's why I like Ms. Marvel, because I'm able to escape. But that's what's happening with a lot of shows right now, is instead of being an escapism, a place where I can just enjoy, like Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick was not throwing my trauma, throwing my depression back at me. It was, I'm escaping. I'm having a fun time. I love this movie. And I think that's something Marvel has to be careful with. Like, yes, like focus on real things, focus on on stuff, but also give us the escape that we are needing as a audience, as a country.
And I think we might get that with Love and Thunder as well. That might be one of our next escapes. So.
I think after Love and Thunder, I think if my thought process is correct, I think you're going to see a big boom in Marvel again after Love and Thunder, because it's going to be escape. I hope so.
And I am one of the people that, for the flavor and for a lot of reasons, I love Multiverse of Madness. But like you said, of trauma, it was a continuation of WandaVision, which was the 9-episode trauma arc that we all got to experience and enjoy. Multiverse is a traumatic, semi-horrific, little depressing movie. I love it, but I also love, Evil Dead and that all that stuff.
I think what was more depressing was watching WandaVision and then going to see Multiverse of Madness, where they destroyed her character.
Yeah, I'm with you,
Sean.
I agree completely.
I'm going to fight you and everybody on the internet. But
I agree
Let's wrap it up
100%
with
of that.
There's a few thoughts in the chat, and I want to shout out to Binge Gold. No, you're correct, and I think that's because when they're doing the week-to-week model, people are like, I want my answers now. Okay, but you're just used to binging like a Stranger Things or like Umbrella Academy or whatever. Like you just want it all now. No, dude, they're telling a whole story. Just be patient. Don't share your overall, this is the best series ever until the end of the series. Wait till the end of the show is over. And I know Matt was talking about a few other things. Yeah, Haskell, yeah, a little disjointed, but that's also because we just don't know the story at the end yet. So it disjointed in the sense that I think they're back to phase one, like Maddie says, where they're telling individual stories again, and eventually we'll tie it all together. We just have to be patient, and the internet's not a patient place.
I don't need another Avengers anytime soon. I don't like everyone's talking about Secret Wars around the corner. I don't care. As long as the movie's good or the character's good and the story's good, it's something that could be invested in for that 2.5 hours and exists in that world. And there's fun little Easter eggs and stuff, and they don't overdo it. That's fun for me. Like, we have no idea how Eternals ties into anything else right now, but it was fun and it was original and it was something different. Shang-Chi, we don't really know how that's going to tie in, but I loved it and it was a good experience.
Yeah.
For me, that's totally okay because, I go to my comic book collection. Very few things I have anything to do with something else that I have. And so that's the storytelling that I grew up being accustomed to. That's what I was already used to before we had Avengers in 2012. So I didn't grow up, I guess, with this must-be giant event building towards culture. Hopefully, end of my rant. Hey, one thing that we haven't talked about really is anything that happened in this episode.
Well, we talked a little bit about it, but
we talked a little bit.
Ed, I saw your other post. That's what I was trying to get to. You and Matt agreed. Basically, they're continuing. It feels disjointed, but they're doing more. Yeah. So I think we're all on the same page. Basically, I think we're all on the same page. That the internet's a terrible idea, and that people need to calm down, and we all need to. Jesus fucking cat. We're all over the place. Yeah. No. Okay. So in this episode. Which we could totally get to specifics. We do see her go to Karachi and she meets her cousin. She meets the Red Daggers. You can tell she's getting more of her power set. Right. Cats over here. Can you hear them?
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. They're going crazy. They're on one today. She's getting more of her power set. We got the train station fight, which was cool because she got to go toe to toe with like an assassin or an actual combatant.
They're like friends now because he was definitely trying to straight up murder her. He was throwing knives and she was blocking just in time. He died.
It's great.
It was a fun scene though, and then she learns a bit more, and she happens to meet the right people because he was following her or whatnot. And I feel bad for the guy. Like, we just met this dude, and he seemed like a really wise, like old trainer, wise old wizard dagger person, and then he eats it real quick, which that part I didn't like. I would like to see a little more from them as a group, and now we just have this one individual who I'm sure there's more to the organization than these just two members. So maybe they'll know how to go to a safe house.
What?
The DODC continues to suck.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. There's a lot of people talking about, like, there's evidence, I guess, like the She-Hulk trailer and stuff of possibly some stuff from DODC. And are they going to be one of our lower level, ground level villains moving forward? Or maybe they are one of our TV series villains. It would be cool to have a constant threat that looms or exists throughout these shows, tying some of them together. That'd be interesting to see.
We know we're going to see them in She-Hulk. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think that was confirmed. Maybe it was a new Rockstars video or something I was watching where they were basically breaking down the scene where her lawyer boss is telling her she has to, like, she's the next whatever, she's the next partner, or she's the next lawyer up, and I think that she's like working for the DODC or something like that when she was in her human form before she transformed to She-Hulk herself.
Well, if you think about none of the Disney Plus shows, none of them have had any connection to each other, and that's a good thing, but I think that's also a bad thing as well, where there's no through line of, I just got done watching Moon Knight. Why should I watch Miss Marvel?
So are you saying in the middle of Miss Marvel, we should have a 2-episode arc that's just Loki content without Miss Marvel in it?
Oh,
Is that how we tie things in properly? Star Wars?
I'm not gonna say I actually enjoyed those episodes a lot more than the entire show. What? I'm not complaining about those episodes at all.
VPN, no, we can post from StreamYards. Like, so Jesse's usually commenting in the chat when someone else is talking. Jesse just needs to get his ideas out there, so he's commenting.
It helps me from constantly interrupting everybody on a regular basis. So thank you, chat, for being there for me and helping me through this. All right. Well, yeah, I like this episode. I like finding out more about the Jinn and the fact that that's just a name given to the clandestines because they basically were seen in a culture that didn't understand what they were. Kind of like, Thor and everybody being considered a god when it's like, yeah, god, sure.
Yeah.
Until Thor: Love and Thunder, where there is gods.
Right. There are actual gods, yeah.
Well, I think the concept of gods is just some kind of superficial being that we
shout out to Monty. Monty knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Montyverse and Pat. Anyways, check out that channel if you haven't already. Good stuff. All right, any last things we want to talk about Miss Marvel before we wrap it up with the big talk?
No.
I just want to bring up the family dynamics with the grandmother and the mother. And we talked about like trauma and family issues and the fact that you had a mother who was so focused on her fantasies that, and they were real, but she was still so much more focused on the fantasy than her own daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so now this mother who wants to be better than her mother is looking at her daughter and saying, you're becoming like my mother. And I want to have that relationship with you. I want to be a part of your life. I don't want you out in La La Land. I want you here. I want you with me. And I see that family like dynamic there where you see three women to just really go through like how family works. And I love that part of it. I love the fact that the mother is not like just a stereotypical, oh, I'm just trying to be controlling. And no, there's so much deeper there for the family dynamics that to me makes this show so worth it because we get the superhero stuff. That's great. But I can get that anything else. I love the family dynamics and seeing this mother really struggle with a daughter and a daughter who's struggling with her mom, the mom loves her. The mom loves her so much, but the daughter wants this freedom in her life and she wants to be free. And so it's a cool dynamic. I like seeing that.
I agree.
I concur.
I concur. I'm excited to see the next two episodes because we're essentially getting to the third act of the movie, type of thing. So we're gonna get
time travel at the end of this episode.
I
forgot. Like I just now remembered. I was like, she's just at a train station all of a sudden.
I think Coy Jandrew did a good breakdown on. I want to say,
Real Rejects.
Real Rejects, maybe New Rockstars. I can't remember what I was watching him, but he went back and like analyzed the scene. Coy's everywhere. He went back and analyzed the scene, basically, yeah. And she only had one interaction with someone who kind of moved out of her way, and that could have just been the actor in the scene, not necessarily the characters on screen type of thing. So I think she is watching the past. I don't think she's going to be able to interact. I don't think she's going to do like a closed loop time travel thing where she was the one who put the stars in the sky. I think she's just going to see her grandmother doing it and then maybe getting kidnapped, and it'll give her a little more backstory to what actually happened that night. That's just my what we're going to see in the next episode.
You heard it here first. Episode 5, titled Exposition.
Boom. And then the final battle probably either at the end or to begin the 6th episode. Because they're not going to wrap up the series. They're going to leave it on a cliffhanger-ish enough to for us to come back and want to see her in the Marvels, because this is not the end of the character we're seeing.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get strange. And I'm not talking about the Doctor. Do we have an overlay shift, or are we just going back to the original?
Oh, you want to switch to this one?
Nice.
There we go. I should have put a border around it, but I didn't.
That's okay. Guys, well, we were talking about the binge model, and one of the points I was going to make up is slowly, but hopefully surely, think Netflix is starting to figure it out. What they did with Stranger Things, I thought was a stroke of brilliance because it's somewhere mixed between the best of both worlds. We got a fat chunk of long episodes that we had a whole month to watch. Obviously, most of us did it in a weekend, but leaving the remaining finale bits till July. We were talking about Stranger Things all month, or at least I was. People I saw on Twitter. The conversation kept going because we were waiting and we were speculating and we were talking about it. It was on TikTok, it was on Twitter, Facebook, shirt sales, and it was great. And it stretched out. Instead of people talking about Stranger Things for 1 week, they talked about it all month. And I think that's something Netflix needs to experiment with more. Like I bring up this example a lot. Arcane was dropping 3 episodes at a time. I think if your episodes are less, I think if your episode is less than like 40 minutes, I need more than 1 episode a week. And Stranger Things had like hour plus episodes the whole season, and the end was like 2 episodes in 4 hours. Is incredible. But my disclaimer, I will say, is going into Stranger Things as a show. When I started it, I was, no pun intended, but a little lukewarm. I thought it was fine. I was like, this is interesting. It's interesting, but like it didn't grab me. And the second season happened. There was stuff that I liked in it, but I was still feeling okay about it. And the third season, for whatever reasons, like the cogs just started like meshing together and things started clicking where like I started appreciating the characters more. I started enjoying the trajectory of where the show was going. And I was just overall more fascinated in the storytelling and what the Duffer Brothers had been presenting. And it made me look more fondly backwards. So retrospectively, all the seasons got better for me. And season 4 continued that. I think it's a great season. I think it's a great wrap up for part of the story, part of the arc. And I think now we have more of a better idea of where the next season is going than we ever have before. I think it's always been a mystery. Every time a season ends, it's a mystery. But I feel like we have a really strong through line now. And we can see that designation. I'm very excited for it. I want to know about your guys' journeys with Stranger Things. Without getting into spoilers yet, what you thought about the season finale, what it was like waiting a month. Luke, you're the guest. I want to start with you.
All right. So for me, Stranger Things, I started watching it back in college. I was watching it with some friends one weekend. We binged the first season because everyone kept talking about it, and we're like, all right, we got to watch this. And
Back
so we watched it.
That was like 3 years ago. How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay. You guys are the same, about the same age. Okay.
But so we binged it. I love the mystery aspect. I think, like Jesse, I actually understand where you're coming from, where the first season was focused more on the mystery. It really wasn't as much character study. Mm-hmm. You had a lot of characters within it. You were starting to like these characters, but it was more about the mystery and the story around it. Season 2, kind of the same way. We're starting to get a lot more character within season 2. I think season 3 was the most character-driven season over even season 1 and 2. So for me, I love season 3 more than 2, because with 3, you really got to know the characters. There was so much more. It wasn't as much about the mystery. It was more about the character. And so then when season 4 comes around, you've already spent so much time with these characters. They've built these characters for so long. You've started to fall in love with these characters. And so because of that, you can bring back the mystery, the dark, the sinister, the creepy. You can bring that back from season 1. And it works better because you know these characters. You don't have to spend as much time on their character moments as you already love these characters. You can bring in some new characters. You can bring in Eddie, who has become people's favorite person. You can also, look at Christy. She was in a episode, and people fell in love with her because she had depth, but also she just, it was there. And so I think the show has been a masterful way to show how character can become more important than your story. Because my favorite character, and I think it's for everyone, has become Steve. Season 1, I was okay if he died. I was hoping he'd die. I was so tired of him. He was so annoying.
Get his hair out of my face.
Yeah. And so now I would cry. Like I was crying like in season 2 and 3. Like if he had died in either of those 2 seasons, I would cry.
Oh, when he was getting munched on by the demi bats, my wife was screaming.
And I've never
It's
seen a
stressful.
character go from, well, I've seen it once another time. Seeing a character who you hate, like you despise this character, to
Suka.
absolutely loving it. I think the other show I would say has done the same trajectory was One Tree Hill. I think that's a masterclass of character where the first season, the main villain, quote unquote villain, the brother who you hate, he becomes the main character that everyone loves at the end, who you see his character development, you see his changing. And that's the same thing with Steve. He has become, I mean, you see the memes where he's the best mom in the show.
Yeah.
And so,
no.
Oh, go ahead.
Non-spoiler first. I was going to say at the end, but continue your thought.
Yeah. And I think this split where they did most of the season at the beginning and then made us wait, made us theorize, worked. Every content that you release with Stranger Things during this month has exploded. I mean, absolutely exploded. Everything does well with Stranger
Things broke the internet. That has not, like, that happens on Disney Plus, like on some of the earlier shows, but I can't think of a time that Netflix fell apart during the debut of one of their shows. That's huge. Well, that means it's spiked from volume 1.
But I don't think another show for now can do that yet.
No.
Because I don't think even if they did this model for season 1, this would have worked. Season 1, 2, maybe 3, if they'd done this model, it could have worked with 3, but I don't think 1 and 2. Because you care about how many theory videos did you see about which of these characters is going to die? Because you cared about the characters. It was more about the character than really even the mystery or the background. It was more about that. What's going to happen to my favorite character? I love this person. Please don't die.
Right.
And the Duffers had you stressed like the majority of the season. After the first couple introductory episodes, when the ish started hitting the fan and Vecna made his presence known, it's scary. I was worried. Yeah. And without going fully into details, what they did to one of our beloved characters, or a couple of them, in the final episode, I was like, you bastards. And they compound it by putting things like back to back, so you're already emotionally compromised, and then they just put the dreadful cherry on top of ripping your heart apart. It was rough. And wearing this shirt's always going to feel a little different. All right, guys. So do we want to get into? We talked about our overall thoughts. We don't have to do a step-by-step for the volume 1, but what do we think of the 2-part finale? I
didn't jump into how I got around to it, at least. Mine is pretty quick. I had heard people talking about it. I was really into watching a lot of previously AMC Movie Talk, which turned into Collider Movie Talk, which had Collider TV Talk, and so I was very much into like the movie punditry world and watching a lot of these shows and this new show, Stranger Things. Everyone's talking about this. All right, I'll check it out, and I was instantly hooked. Like as soon as I put it on screen, it was that perfect 80s nostalgia, Goonies mixed with a little bit of horror aspect, but also like Indiana Jones, but also like just a little bit of it was so Spielbergy, and it reminded you of basically reminded me of my childhood type of thing of watching these types of things on TV. And I was hooked immediately. And I tried to get my wife to watch it, and she will adamantly not watch it because I want her to, which is really weird. I don't know why she has such a stickler for it. She's strange, but my kids are actually catching up, which is fun. And I was worried about some of the horror aspects, especially how gruesome it gets like in this final season. But they see so much other crap, and they'll watch me play like Call of Duty Zombies and stuff. So they're used to seeing such fantastical, over the top, gruesome stuff that it doesn't really affect them anymore. Maybe that's more telling to my parenting skills. But so my daughter's like currently in the middle of season 3, and my son's still stuck on like season 1. I don't think he's as interested. He's also a year and a half younger than my daughter. But she's 10, and she's totally into it, and she's the perfect age for the kids, especially in the first season. And so that hooked her with the characters, and she's moving on through that. So it was fun. I was telling her yesterday, I was like, you better catch up. Like I'll be at work this week, catch up, and then we can watch the finale together. And she definitely didn't catch up, so I had to watch it on my own. But I dig it, and I like where they've come, and I like how much this season has tied back to the first season, and we see a bit of that with revealing, especially through like some of the dialogue that Will has, revealing who was behind, who was in charge in the first few seasons, and
I don't have all the actors' names memorized, but especially in the last 2 episodes, the kid playing Will,
Noah Schnapp.
Wow. No, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job. And so we can transition to the actual spoilers, which is what the tag is down here. And talk about him first. We didn't see resolution for where his character was going, but I think we see exactly where his character is going. He obviously has some
that child alone.
Well, he has a lot of emotions inside that he hasn't yet let out to the audience. I think we all see exactly where it's going, but he's not ready to, he's not ready to speak his own truth. But his brother knows, Jonathan sees it happening, and he's there. And we see a very touching emotional moment between the brothers, between the family, where it's like, hey, no matter what you're going through, like, I'm always here for you. I'm your big brother. I'm going to be here, and we're going to get through it together, type of thing. And I love seeing everything with that. But you also see throughout the season his feeling so left out and pushed out. He put himself on the outside. The other characters aren't realizing what's going on, but he kept putting himself on the outside, like he was not part of the group or whatever. And I hated seeing that, but he was playing it so well. The way that they were filming it or directing those episodes, he did a great job. I really liked it.
If you think about it, last season, this season is the first time Will has actually been a part of the group.
Right,
Season 1, he was missing. Season 2, he's dealing with the possession. Like season 3, he was starting to be integrated with the group, but he was realizing all my friends have grown up and have this development in them, and I haven't. I'm still wanting to be a kid. And then this season, it's even more that where he didn't get to progress like he needed to, like the other kids. And so now he's in this weird emotional situation where he doesn't know what's going on in his life. He's still struggling with who he loves, who he doesn't. He's still trying to figure out who he is as a person. And I think because of season 1 and 2, being outcasted, being on the outside of his friend group, has made his development as a character, as a person,
kind of stilted. Yeah.
And like that's why you really saw that last season with season 3, where he was really, you could tell he was so much younger feeling than the other kids. He wanted to still do the younger stuff. And what's really funny is by this season, all the friend group actually end up going back to doing those things. He just was still on the outside, being in another state and being away from his close friends. So he never had that, you didn't see him having friends in high school. You didn't see him with anyone.
Eddie could have shepherded him into being a part of the Hellfire Club.
Yeah.
You're playing.
Well, they wouldn't. They never met. Eddie and Will never met.
That's what I'm saying. Like I wish I wish things could have been different.
Well, they did the same thing. Let me ask you this emotionally, and this is spoiler. All right, with Eddie.
Spoilers, Brandy, get out of here.
Spoilers.
Hi, Parker. Spoilers. Don't get spoiled.
This is big spoiler. Big spoiler. This is connecting back to season 2. All right. Which death did you feel more, Eddie's or the boyfriend from season Samwise from season 2?
My daughter just asked me too. She's like, "Why did what was his name? Why did he have to die?" And he got eaten by the demigods.
It was really rough. I'm glad we didn't have to watch a lot of what happened to Eddie, and we just got the aftermath. But yeah, the Sean Astin stuff was really rough. I'll tell you this: when Sean Astin died, I wasn't as sad. I was furious because it was so brutally sad, but like I was just mad that it happened. And like I couldn't get past my anger. I had some kind of dark, tragic acceptance with Eddie. Like going into the season, I knew. The more I fell in love with the character, I was like, this is it. Every line of dialogue he had, I'm like, God damn it. I know we're losing Eddie. And then everyone's speculating about what song he was going to be playing on top of the bus. And I saw some TikTokers analyze and they're looking at like the chords that he was playing, and people are like, "Bro, it's Master of Puppets." And I was like, "What? That'd be sick." And then the track list came out, and someone's like, "Master of Puppets is on the track list," and I was like, "Dude, Metallica!" And it was sick. It was one of the best things ever. I'm wrecked. I'm still recovering. It hurt so bad, and I was comforting Lauren for like an hour, and she couldn't even sleep. She was just like she was sitting on the couch, just like not okay. Before we get into any more, we did get a Streamlabs. Hang on 1 second.
We did, and Mr. Luke is up. It's in the private chat, buddy. You're up. You got to do your best ASMR voice. Go for it.
All right, O'Connor. Let's see what you got. Dominic Toretto.
Dom Toretto.
I should call my wife. She is so much better. She could do ASMR so much better than me.
John Listrina tipped $3. We appreciate you, buddy. You always helping support the show. You're the best. We do appreciate you,
John.
And also, if I ever forget the dialogue to Fast and the Furious, you'll always be there for us.
Oh yeah.
But man, I don't know if I can say more than Eddie. Eddie wrecked me. So like I said, or hinted at earlier, I was emotionally compromised already. And then you are so used to the worst of things not happening to our main cast. And so when Max is being levitated by Vecna, and like the first, I don't remember if it was the arm or the leg, but it snapped. We let out like a cry gasp. Like it was just like the second the gasp came out, the eyes were wet. We're like, no. And it was so shocking. Like you couldn't breathe watching it. And then it's like something else would snap and the eyes were white. And I was like, oh my, are we actually going to watch this happen to our character? And for the most part, we did. And it's like the moment before the eyes are going to pop, 11 comes through. But then Max is not okay in that whole moment between her and Lucas, when he's like holding her and she's like, I'm scared, I'm not ready to die. And you get flashbacks to Peter Parker in Infinity War, but just so much more brutal and horrifying to look at. It's not somebody being turned into dust. It's like a crippled, broken body of a child, and seeing the fear and like
you are experiencing what our parents experience with Empire Strikes Back. That's what we are dealing with right now. The emotion. Think of Han Solo. The last time we saw Solo at the end of Empire Strikes Back, you see a fearful expression of a guy in carbonite. Think how horrifying that idea is in that moment, because you don't know what's going on in that moment. They don't know if he's dead or he's just a statue now. You don't know. And you have the point about Luke no, I am your father, which is kind of the same idea where you're coming from this show where you find out more about Vecna. We're experiencing in a TV show what our parents experienced with Empire Strikes Back. Sure.
Yeah. There was a theory out there that what was his name? Vecna's real name,
Henry.
Well, Henry. That Henry might have been Eleven's father, because he was about the right age. Like if he was about 10 or 11 in 1959, by the time 11 this is 86, so she's 15, 16 years old. So he would have been about 20 years old or so, in that range, old enough to be a father.
I don't think he was
they never went that way. I doubt that. But it could have been something that Papa was doing, behind the scenes, that Matthew Modine's doctor character was doing behind the scenes, experimenting and stuff like that. Well, I could definitely see him doing that. They obviously didn't go that route, or they haven't revealed that. But
what do you think of bringing him back?
I liked it fine. He served his purpose well, and kind of gave 11, I think, some closure too, especially towards the end there, where, he was trying to protect her, but also trying to help her grow, but also trying to keep her down. And there was a whole lot going on there.
I have to compliment the Duffers for the dialogue choice when he's looking at 11 as he's dying and says, "Tell me you understand." I was like, no, F that. You suck. And I was like, if 11 says like, "Oh, I understand to give him closure. He doesn't deserve it. He's a piece of shit." And so when she just stared at him as he died, I was like, "Yeah, rock on, Queen. All right, moving on."
But that also goes back to the moment at the end. What was your emotions when she first sees Hopper?
I was already crying. I was, but when she spun the bottle and then we get that emptiness, and so now it's flashing back to her sitting by Max's side, and we're like, oh no, what's Max? And I was thinking like Vecna was going to take over Max's body or something.
Yeah, me too.
Or take over Will's body, or both, because Will has this connection to him, type of thing, in like the real world type of stuff. So I didn't know where. My mind was racing of all these possibilities about to happen, to leave it on a cliffhanger because I knew the show was about to end. There was only like 10 minutes left in the show.
It did feel like a 35-minute epilogue, though.
It was very.
It was
Return of the King.
Yeah. I've seen that so many times.
But I mean, we got 7 episodes of an hour and a half each, plus another 2.5-hour finale. So it was they had a lot of stuff to wrap up and give it to show us where the characters were.
I will say when the season started, and I mentioned this, there's a little short up on the channel now. There's quick thoughts after Stranger Things with no spoilers in it. But I did say that there were elements of the plot that I felt overstayed their welcome, and that would be there's a couple examples, but one of them being Russia. When the show started, I did not expect us to spend 9 episodes in Russia. I thought that would be like the first 2, maybe 3, and we get Hopper out of there. It was a lot of time in there. And they tried to make it as relevant as possible, but they're like, hey, we have to take out these demigorgons to help the kids. I don't know how much you really did. I don't know if that helped, but I mean, that's the spirit, I guess. And I wish we could have done more with the Mike, Will, Argyle, and Jonathan side of things. So there were certain elements of the season that left me wanting for certain characters, but overall, how everything came together and the way they handled how tense moments were, and again, the dialogue and the acting, everything was just so great that like I couldn't, if I tried, give the season any less than a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. And they did, and they rounded it out with characters like you just mentioned, where they still kept the levity of it with characters like Argyle. What's up, my dude?
He was
What's up, my surfer boy, dude? I'm not here for your delicious pies. We actually need some. Dude, he was the best character, dude. He was hilarious. I loved him.
And I love that like all these serious things are happening, and then Argyle's making a pizza.
Yeah. Hey, you guys still got to eat. We didn't see the character. They were in a car for a long time. They need they need sustenance. But they need. Can we? It's tough to go beat by meat for every moment. But I love the moment that Lucas had with his sister as well. That was.
I need more Erica. I need Erica to be now that she's been a part of it. She needs to be a main part of it moving forward.
And just a baller D&D player too.
Yeah.
But that was great.
Did anyone else cackle when she kicked the guy and said crit hit?
Yes.
I was like, she got a nat 20. Boys.
I didn't notice that. That's funny.
Well, something that is masterful about the show is there is no, like, there are a couple stereotypes, but overall, like the Erica, she should just be the annoying little sister that no one cares about. They throw her in a closet somewhere after the events happen, and she's like, "What happened?" Like, you've seen that in so many other shows. This one, they're like, "No, we're going to introduce this character, and you're going to love her just as much as the rest of the cast."
Yeah.
And they keep throwing characters in. I think the only caricature in the show are the parents. I think the parents are the most caricature of.
Can we talk about spoilers? When the freaking earthquake from hell like split Justin in half, I was like,
yeah,
yes,
that guy, he got what was coming to him for sure. He was such an asshole.
I kind of wish they had not used. I think that his character, I think that was the cheapest part of the series. I think it was like, oh, let's add another jock like we had with Steve, like we had with Billy. Like Billy wasn't a jock, but it was kind of the same idea.
They needed stuff getting in their way on all sides. Otherwise the plan would just work pretty, because they had a great plan, but stuff had to happen in the Upside Down, stuff had to happen in the real world. And in Hawkins, there's not much to really go against our squad, so they had to come up with like some kind of antagonist there. So I get the intention, but I also agree with you. It was a little cheap at times.
We didn't see what happened with that military guy. I can't remember the general that was chasing them the whole time. As they're trying to find 11 the whole time. We also Paul Reiser's doctor character. We don't know if he's alive or dead or not, because they left the military there, so they probably went back inside and grabbed him or killed him before they left, took off.
Owens,
so
right?
Owens, was that his name? Okay, so that's still on the hook, and it's funny seeing Paul Reiser in The Boys and also in Stranger Things at the same time, and two very different characters, but both with some like epic dialogue and like uplifting like speeches in this show. Or if you watched a month ago when he had that scene with 11, and so it was fun seeing like a dichotomy between the two characters he's playing. And one thing I wanted to see more of too was maybe, or rather, what I want to get to before we wrap up is if you can pinpoint like one specific of your most emotional moment. If you know, like what, and for me, it's in the finale, and I think because there's so much culmination, stuff wrapping up in the finale. It wasn't when Eddie died, but it was when Dustin was talking to his uncle. And because what's about to happen, and as soon as he said, "I was with him when the earthquake hit," I lost it. I just tears started rolling. I knew exactly what was about to happen. The scene they were about to have. Dustin had this beautiful speech about he was hero. He saved this whole town.
And if anyone got to know him, they would love him. They would have loved him.
Yeah.
And I'm like.
That I was over here like I was hiding. My wife was sitting here on my left, and I'm watching on my phone because the kids were watching TV, and I'm trying to hide my tears.
I think mine is before the plan and the battle. You have Dustin and Eddie having that emotional moment between the two, and you just those two, especially in the finale, they had the best. You saw their development. You saw how much Dustin looked up to Eddie and how much he saw so much potential in Eddie, and it was so beautiful seeing that, because you would think, and also you saw with Eddie his respect for Steve. Like he had built this respect for Steve, and basically like knowing that Steve was going to take care of Dustin in the end of the day. And you followed this. I mean, Eddie was great, but like seeing Eddie just become this big brother to Dustin and really take on that role this season, because Steve was kind of busy doing other things this season and wasn't able to take on that role as much. But Eddie was just being there for Dustin, and Dustin was learning who he was through Eddie, and seeing them like joke around and them tackle each other. And that moment was such a character moment, because that's what you would see, two characters who care for each other. Like they were brothers, and they were in arms together, and seeing Eddie sacrifice himself, not just for the group, but he was thinking of Dustin. And to me, that was what hit me.
I think part of it might have been, and I was thinking about this too as it was happening, like, why would he do that? Is no matter what he does, I don't think he had anything he could come back to. Like, he had his uncle, but the perception of him, because like the people, until Vecna's out just like slaying people on public news, nobody's going to believe it. And they're continue to vilify him and label him as a murderer. So I think it was kind of an all or nothing thing. My emotional moment was, or one of the first ones in the finale, was Will talking to Mike and basically telling, and when Mike's feeling like he's not going to be needed anymore, or he's going to lose 11, Will telling Mike almost everything that he feels he needs Mike to know, but using it through the guise of discussing 11. And the more emotional it got, and the more transparent you really started seeing what he was actually saying, it wrecked me, because it had been building and it had been bubbling under the surface the entire season, and it felt like a huge outburst. But at the same time, I still think Mike didn't see it.
No,
and it was hard. It was hard to watch.
Yeah.
Is it weird to say, even though they really made this connection between him and 11, I don't really like them together. I honestly,
I think there's going to be some splits next season, and I think Jonathan and Nancy, I think, is going to be a for sure.
Done.
But like people also might not have time to break up next season.
Yeah,
I think everyone.
There might be there's shit hitting the fan for sure. They're not going to.
Well, they
may
talked
not have
about
time
there
to
being a
think about
time
the
jump.
relationships.
They said that there was going to be a time jump for the next season. So like,
I feel like what's happening right now is a little important because like vegetation is dying. It's like it's slowly spreading. So I don't know how much of a time jump they could do. Hawkins will be dead by the time we come back to it.
They're wanting to like make it like enough of a time jump where the ages match for the kids because their age don't. Because I think like 11 in real life she's 18, but in the show I think she's like 14. So it's like 4 years.
Yeah,
I think Millie is older. I mean, I could be wrong, but they've grown up so much.
They've all have, yeah. And Mike looked sprouted like a weed, but he's also grown 4 years. I don't disagree with that. I just wonder what the story would be then. But I trust in the writers, like the Duffer Brothers and themselves. They're fantastic what they're doing. So it just doesn't seem like it would make sense with how they left it off, where it seems like this town is in very peril, like the upside down is spreading through the real world and it's literally eating stuff alive. So I wonder how much of a jump they could do before, unless this is just a post-apocalyptic world now.
That's what I was going to say. We jump and it's Mad Max in the upside down.
Basically, yeah. That's
what they might do is they might isolate the town. They isolate this area where maybe they put a wall up or they isolate it. They're basically saying no one is allowed in this area. Quarantine zone. Yeah, quarantine. Yeah. We're and what excuse they can kind of give it is this was basically a nuclear explosion happened.
Yeah.
There was because that was the season 1 where they were working in a power plant,
right?
And so they could make the excuse of there was an explosion because of the power plant. Everything is dying. It's hazardous. It's radioactive. Yeah. No one come in this area.
They can say like, the spread slowed or something like that. So they'll write themselves, the answers or whatever. Yeah. It'll just be interesting to see.
It just overall so much worked about the show. I loved the unfolding mystery in regards to Vecna, the great character moments, the humor when the humor needed to hit, the uptick in violence, the fact that I think the show started out as kind of like a dark family show, and it is now veered more and more into horror, where there were several times watching this where, especially with Vecna, I was like, this is a combination of it and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Along with a whole bunch of other things. And like I think Sean said earlier that it had like Spielberg vibes originally. It's very Amblin. And yeah, we keep that handy. I thought we were going to see Robert Englund at least one more time.
I thought we would
in the finale, because I would think there's something unresolved between him and Vecna. It's like your daddy's still around, but
right. Curious what they're going to do with Max, because we see the scene with 11 kind of basically go into her mind. Her mind's empty, so she's in a coma. She's essentially brain dead. I really thought we were going to, 11 brought her back to life, her physical body at least, which I thought was interesting that she didn't tell Lucas that. She didn't tell anyone that, apparently. But I thought I really thought she was going to develop some like Jedi healing powers in that moment and just like fix her arm, fix her leg.
I thought she was
going
to unvecna her.
Basically, that's what I thought was about to happen. They didn't go that route.
I'm happy they didn't. I'm actually happy that they didn't go that route, because they want to show everything matters. Like when someone hurts, you can't heal them. Like we want to, as an audience, we want to see these characters be healed. We want them to be fixed, but they want to show the audience that no, everything matters. Every death matters. You're not bringing people back from the dead. Every reaction matters. And even if Max comes back, do you think she's basically, at the moment, you almost need a time jump for her? Because she's a vegetable. I mean, all her arms are broken, her legs are broken, she can't see.
Her mind,
yeah. So she's basically a vegetable right now.
I don't know what a dour note to end Stranger Things on. It was a ride. It was very high quality. I think Stranger Things is some of the best television out of. I mean, things that I'm watching, and I'm watching, I think, relatively good stuff for the most part. Yeah. Any final thoughts, guys? I mean, we did some of our speculation moving into next season, some of our favorite things, dramatic moments. We could have probably done a whole 3-hour conversation about the season of Stranger Things, but alas,
break it down.
People have things to do.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, we talked about this, we talked about The Boys, we talked about Miss Marvel, and we spent time on Miss Marvel, but we didn't have this kind of conversation, and that tells you how good of a show this is. Miss Marvel's a good show. I love Miss Marvel. We talked about that. But the fact that we're coming into this show and we could spend an hour, 2 hours just diving into each character moment. We care about every single character. With Miss Marvel, I'm only caring about Miss Marvel and her parents. And Bruno. I think we care about Bruno a bit. But this show is a masterclass in how character works.
I fully agree. And for anyone still watching, or if you're watching this later, let us know in the comments what you think about Stranger Things, The Boys, Miss Marvel, all those things. What are you enjoying the most? What's been the best thing of the summer so far? And yeah, that's the end of our spoiler talk of all these shows. And we want to take the last few minutes to talk about something that has happened within our community that's pretty big. I think a lot of the reasons we have some of the subscribers that we do are from a little thing called the we changed the overlay on here to perfect.
Yeah.
You're on top of it.
I got you. I know your computer's slow.
Yeah. The movie Trivia Schmodown is for anyone that doesn't know, but I think most of you do. It was a trivia competition that went on for it's wrapping up now is the announcement that we got in its 9th and final season.
Yeah.
And it's how we all met each other. It's how this community grew to be what it was. It's something that has helped push my passion for film and like having something I can study and like work towards in my adult life. It's been a lot of fun, sometimes stressful, but it gave me a lot of memories that I wouldn't trade for the world. And we want to take a moment to anyone watching, feel free to pitch in your thoughts. Sean, Luke, you can talk about what got you into the Schmodown. What are your thoughts right now? I think we all have a lot of bittersweet emotions. But I'd like to wrap up this show with, kind of our saying goodbye to the Schmodown, even though it's running for a little bit longer. But this is it. So, Luke.
Well, my journey with the Schmodown started back in college. I think I was a junior. I was working in a library at the time, and every week I had to go and dust books. That was my job during the summer. And so I wanted to start listening to podcasts. And so I'm like, what's something I like that I could listen to podcast wise? And I was like, is there a Marvel movie news type show or something?
Mm-hmm.
So I looked it up, and Popcorn Talk came up with Marvel movie news, and I got to see Coy. And I'm like, oh, Coy's kind of cool. I kind of like this guy. And then
Coy,
fast. He talks like this.
And he loves Spider-Man. I love that he loves Spider-Man. And I was so excited about that. And then after that, I went over and started listening to DC movie news because I'm like, oh, they have a DC one.
Mike Kalinowski, Roxy
Yes.
Stryer. I had a similar journey. I mean, I'll get into it more, but yeah.
And so I was listening to them, and I love watching them. And then one week, you see them like wanting to kill each other. I'm like, what is happening right now? Basically, it was the episode where DC Movie News Mike basically went off on the team, and I thought it was real. I didn't know what was happening. I'm like,
because I never watched the Marvel or DC Movie News, but did they play their Schmodown storyline over into their actual DC Movie News show?
There was tension. There was a lot of tension. They didn't fully go into it, but they were given enough like hints and tension where I'm like, what is happening right now? And so they kept talking about this thing called Schmodown. And I'm like, I don't know if I could get into this. This is weird. But I'm like, I'll just check it out. so I went over and started watching and watched it. Really dove in after that match and into the corruption era. I really focused on Inner Geekdom because I loved Inner Geekdom, and I saw, Koi's on, cool. And so I got really into it, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with Collider. I was starting to listen to Collider. I went over and listened to Collider Live. I listened to everything because, I'm working in a library, so I'm just going to watch. And so what was so funny is me and Eli, we had been friends forever. We had been friends for all of college. And I went over one day and we were just talking. I was like, hey, have you heard of this thing called the Schmodown or Collider or something? He's like, I listen to that every week. So me and him were like, we were just like geeking out because we always geek out in general. And so me and him just kind of kept watching it. And then I graduated from college. Me and him both did. And so a year after I graduated from college, I'm still doing stuff. And me and him were just being friends. We were still keeping up, but not a lot because it's kind of hard to keep up with people sometimes. And, me and him were just talking one day and we're like, well, do you want to do a after show kind of like how all these other shows do? And he was like, yeah, let's try it. So we tried it out, and don't get me wrong, the first episode was us on Zoom. It looks awful. I mean, I didn't have a good camera.
I'd love to show you our first videos with like 12 views on it. I think we were recording on Zoom and then trying to put it together and post later. And
it was us, and it looks terrible. I didn't know what I was doing, and so we started our channel on doing the Into the Schmodown Galaxy. We started that. That's how our channel started. I'm very thankful now that we started doing reactions, or our channel would be done right now. Like we were very blessed that me and my wife started doing those trailer reactions, and one of them popped, and so now our channel. Sadly, our channel was doing better on everything but Schmodown. Our Schmodown views had just started to crash, but everything else was just exploding.
Seemed like that was across the board. That's a bit of why they made the announcement yesterday.
I see my partner in crime in the comments. But it was great. I love the show. I am sad to see the show end. I am not shocked. I've been calling it for about 3 to 4 months. I kind of been calling it for a while because I watch analytics. I know how analytics work, and when you're not seeing an uptick in subscribers for a channel, after a while you have to decide as a channel what's your future, what are you going to do. And
sure,
it's sad, especially because if it wasn't for Schmodown, I would have never connected to y'all. I would have never connected to any other channel. I mean,
I want to encourage everybody really quick, for the friends that you've made or the friends that you've thought about making in regards to this community, reach out, keep a close relationship. It doesn't have to have the level of impact on our lives that I think a lot of people are concerned that it does. It'll be very sad to see it go, but let's keep these friendships living. Let's keep collaborating. Everyone keep working together, keep supporting each other. And people are like, oh no, I'll never see my friends again. Let's all keep talking. We'll get something figured out. We'll get together. It can be something else. And people that love,
let's go hang out in Vegas and play some blackjack.
Hey, and there's there's channels that need support. Like these channels that like had after shows, like Let's Get Ready, A Certain Point of View, What Network, all these great channels. Tim Sim, all these great channels that everyone loved to talk about Schmodown with. They're going to need more support now on their other content, on their other experiments, because everyone's about to go into experiment mode.
Adjacent channels like Apocalypse, because we're friends with Brian and Jake and like that whole group. Support them. I mean, if you guys want to support us, we wouldn't mind. And I consider us kind of like an Apocalypse-esque channel. We're like adjacent to. We're like we work in a lot of the same circles, but we don't do a lot of Schmodown content. But we love all the people that we've met from there, and I want to get together with people. I got a nice kind of surprise visit from Rachel Silvestrini up here in Seattle recently. And that was a lot of fun. Went bowling, and I just have loved my new friends more than like any friends I've made in the last 20 years, to be honest. And these all feel like relationships that have so much lasting value. And I wish I could have like taken 100 people off of Twitter and invited everyone to my wedding in September, and so many people contributed to making that possible. We would not have been able to have the special day that we did if it wasn't for the Schmodown community. So that will always mean so much to me. I got to travel to LA for the first time to record something, and there's a lot of just irreplaceable memories.
Twice. You get to come down twice. Once for a party, a quick party.
True.
Second time for a recording.
It was a dream listening, like Luke said, with like him and Eli, listening to these matches and stuff, how much fun they are. You have in the back of your head, like, man, this is big time for me. This is Hollywood for me. Like, I'm not an actor, so like this is the thing I would kill to have an opportunity in doing, and I got to, and nobody can take that away from me. I got to do it a couple times. I got to be part of the digital season, and when the studio first opened back up, and come down and disappoint everybody on multiple mediums.
Both on digital and in person.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, we as a after shows, like, we were given such opportunities to talk to people, like, talking to Bibbs. I got to talk to Brandon Meyer the other day, which in college I used to binge with my roommate, Mr. Young. So that was like a what is happening right now moment, and having these moments where we've been connecting with people, like, Eli got to meet Coy when he went down for Spectacular. Coy, if you really think about it, he is huge in the space now, and there's so many.
Coy's that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I see all these like big names and like TikTok and like on YouTube and all this, and I'm like, I am connected in so many weird ways to these people.
I was on a faction with Kevin Smith. Just gonna,
and you beat him in every training match you all had together, right? You're undefeated.
Yeah.
We'll just say undefeated.
Actually, I'm gonna, anytime the Real Rejects have a live stream, once it's ended and we don't have to keep secrets anymore, I'm just gonna keep commenting, I beat you guys in every mock match.
Well, it's kind of cool being
Spill
connected.
all the tea.
It's kind of cool being connected to the Real Rejects, because I mean they're like a 1 million subscriber channel, and
yeah, could I have like a pity like 1,000 subs? Like,
I found out.
Greg and John, give us a pity retweet, or rate our channel or something.
I found out as time has gone on, like mostly your channel is what brings people. Other channels don't really help you that much.
Right.
And I just really randomly 2 days ago, John Humphreys started following me on Instagram. I was like, oh, hi.
What's up, brother? Scrolling through. I sent a message out like 2 months ago, and someone responded yesterday. I was like, hey, I just saw this. It was sitting in my random, like, because you'll see those random, like, hey, you should follow this person, or hey, you got this message 6 months ago from this person. They're like, it's in some random folder that you never check, or maybe you just don't have notifications turned on your phone. So that happens often. I can share a bit of my own journey with the Schmodown. I've been playing trivia through work. I'm a cable guy. We do this thing called Comtech Jeopardy. My job is a communication technician, and so it's Jeopardy as it sounds. You got 5 squares, and you get 25 questions. And so I learned to do this thing through work back in like 2014, and it's more of a team sport. Everyone has their own expertise, and so you have a team of 4, and everyone's like an expert in certain individual aspects of the game, and it all has to do with our job. So it's not like real world knowledge. It's cable guy stuff. But the trivia part of it was fun, and it's always fun to be like the smartest person in the room. You know what I mean? It's always like, I knew that, and that's why we compete. That's the competition angle of being a mental competitor for something. And right around the same time is when Man of Steel had dropped, 2013, and I had just started watching AMC Movie Talk because of the Man of Steel review. And if you go back and ask people when they found AMC and John Campia and like that whole crew, it's always the Man of Steel review.
Like, and I'm sitting here like, it was Avengers for me. I found him too. That was like the year prior. But
see, it was the Man of Steel review for me with Dennis Zen, Clark Wolf, John Schnepp, rest in peace, buddy, and like all that whole crew, and then which turned into Collider. But in the interim, there they introduced these guys, Mark and Christian. Who the hell are these guys? Oh, they're the Schmoes. what the fuck is a schmo? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, and then so I started watching, and I was like, I actually put it off for so long of watching the Schmoes No Show, because I'm like, I already watch movie talk every day. Like, why would I watch another show about movies? Not realizing what type of show it was until when they finally brought the Schmoes live show to Collider, is when I jumped into it. And it was right around the time the Schmodown itself was coming to Collider in 2016, and the whole feud with Campy and Merle. That was my very first match, and I think it was a lot of people's very first match too, because they were talking smack on Twitter. It had a whole wrestling angle to it, and I'm like, "What is this? This is fun." Because I was a child of the '90s, and I loved the Attitude Era of wrestling, and that's where it really got me hooked. And then I started watching the Schmoes No live show, and I'm like, "Oh, this is just a hangout with a bunch of friends shooting the shit, talking movies. I love this." I stopped paying attention to movie talk, and I was just waiting for the Schmoes No show to come on every week, and that was my jam. And meeting, the Wangers table and Brett to the Future was like my favorite segment, and I still love Brett to this day. And I got to talk to him in Spectacular and recently, which I'll get to. But like the entire show was hooked. And then of course my trivia brain, because I'm still playing Jeopardy at work, which is a whole nother story. But I'm like, I love movies and I love competition. I love the trivia thing. So it gets me into it. But I was just a fan for years. So just a fan. I wasn't even in the comment boards. I was a Patreon of the Schmodown and nothing else. And I just watched, and I liked every video, and I would retweet some stuff sometimes from my, 100-person follower account on Twitter. But I was just a fan. And then digital era comes around, and the world's in an uproar of a pandemic we're hitting. And I basically saw how much fun, like everyone, like Jake Yacovetta and other people in like the Action Army were always posting. It was always the Action Army. And everyone was just so enthralled with these communities that we're building, and how much like friendship was out there to be had. And I said, I'm tired of being just a fan. I want to join some groups. I became a Patreon of this group, of the Action Army, of the Outlaw Nation. And what really got me into it too was I was watching a Mandalorian review show featuring Sean Sullivan and PJ Campbell over on the PJCN. And how much fun the Pajukin, and how much fun they were having on screen, just talking shit. And they were going off about Lightyear, which had just released some promo images. And I remember vividly, I was sitting in the Target parking lot waiting for my wife. She was inside shopping, and I'm just playing on my phone watching YouTube. And I started commenting, and they were bringing up my comment, and we were just having like a good back and forth. And that like hooked me. And I was just like I was like, all right, you know what? I'm diving in. I'm joining these groups. I'm doing this thing. I'm tired of sitting on the outside looking in. I want to start not like being a presence, not like I want to insert myself into the conversation, but I just want to be a part of something. And this is all, I don't remember the timeline on a lot of this stuff, but this is all simultaneous right around when the draft was happening. And there was this whole digital draft, and there was a whole lot of rookies who had sent in audition tapes, and I never sent an audition tape. I was too scared to do that. What if they say no? What if they say yes? I don't know what's going to happen. But I tweeted at a bunch of people, and I was like, hey, congrats on making the Schmodown. Like, that's awesome. That's cool. And the one person who mostly responded and with positive was a guy over here this way, Mr. Jesse Swift. And he's like, hey, thanks. Like I don't remember exactly what the conversation went with, but he basically responded back in kind. And I was like, hey, cool. That was awesome. A few weeks later, a month later, whatever it was, Jesse puts out a call for, hey, I'm going to do some trivia stuff on my own channel for prep work for your Schmodown. And I was like, I'll be a part of that. Sign me up, me and a few other people. And from there, like we started chatting, we started talking. And then on a daily basis, Jesse and I were having 8-hour conversations while we're both like daily, as we're both at work, just doing our thing. And we're just on the phone shooting questions to each other every day. And we grew into, being partners on this channel, and so much other has grown from there. And then comes time for, me to, like, I was waiting and the FCL starting up. And I had sent a shout out to This Week in the FCL,
Nice.
who hasn't posted much lately in the last couple months. I'm not sure what they're doing with the channel, but Chris Barnes had put out a thing like, hey, who wants to be part of a Schmodown adjacent, right? The FCL after show. And I had put out, I was like, hey, sign me up. Like, I'd love to talk about the Schmodown. I'm a big fan. And he's like, hey, we already have a team. Like, but I got a bunch of entries, sorry, buddy, can't fit you in. All right, cool, no worries. But I was like, you know what? Fine. I don't want to just talk about the Schmodown. I want to be a part of it. Let me submit an audition tape for the FCL.
Sean said, let me dominate this real quick.
Jesse's over here encouraging me to do so, and other people and other friends who I've met. Shout out to Schmodown POV and Apothecaflix.
Nice.
I realized that Jake Berlin of those shows is literally my neighbor. He lives about 8 houses down from me. In the smallest world comes the Schmodown. We realize we literally live in the same, block, essentially. He lives right around the corner. He walks his dog to the park right near our house. Come to find out all this too, PJ is also from Sacramento, and we're from the same town. And so we became, friends that way. But yeah, so Jake was helping me with a lot of editing. He was helping me film some of my promo stuff that I was doing for my audition tape. And yeah, shout out to Maddie, Sack Down Baby. Maddie knows. Maddie, who was part of the Action Army randomly, he lives in fucking England. I don't know where exactly you live in, or if you're in London. He trains with the Alpha Male guys, who are an MMA community here in Sacramento. And so Maddie, who I knew through Action Army and not through Sacramento ties, randomly is also a Sacramento guy. A Sacramento transplant from overseas. It's funny how big the internet is and how small the internet can be when you realize this stuff. So I submitted my audition tape for the FCL. I was accepted. I already had a small relationship with PLD from being in the Action Army. So I think that helped me. Shout out to PLD. Love you, buddy. And I got some notes and I did some things, and there wasn't a ton to the FCL as far as character wise, because I came in very late in the season, because I waited until halfway through the season to even submit a tape. But they liked me. They brought me in, and I was lucky enough to get 4 matches. But granted, there was a lot of behind the scenes me sending messages going, hey, where's my next match? Where's my next match? I want another match. Give me another chance. Because I came in and I didn't win my first match. And I guess it doesn't matter now anymore because the storylines are all gone. But I did get a Schmodown match.
Oh.
Or 2, actually. I don't mind saying it out loud. What are they going to do? Kick me out? So a few weeks ago, about a month ago now, actually, I went down to LA and I filmed a couple matches.
Oh, nice.
And so those will be coming up. I have no idea when or where because they've changed everything, and I think the storylines are out the windows. But I do have a few things coming up, so I will tweet those when I know about them. And I'm sure I don't know how much the Schmodown account itself is going to be tweeting anymore, but I would love for everyone involved to watch and let me know what you think of my own matches, and some formidable opponents and nerve-wracking days of being down there.
One day we will publicly have a match against each other.
Yes.
Sean and I have played several matches, not on books, and they are almost always barn burners.
Yeah.
I think they're good matches.
We've definitely gone back and forth with winning, and I think every match has come down to the 5-pointer, regardless of how many times we've gone toe to toe.
Nice.
So that'll be fun. And then Sean Wingblade and I have both been on Settle the Score, which is another Schmodown adjacent channel that's like in a community that we have found, and maybe one day we'll play each other at that too, because we are both victors.
Mm-hmm. I am the Jubilator. If you watched my episode, I don't remember what the title is we settled on, but I won, and Settle the Score is a blast. Oh, the world. Oh, yeah. So shout out to go over to the Outlaw Nation. Everyone knows John Roca in this space, and he has his own Patreon league, which is behind a paywall. You can definitely take part if you join his Patreon, and it's a blast. And I help write some questions for that, and that is still going on. But you do have to be a part of his Patreon too. And we did a free for all show, and it was really fun.
Something is very creaky. I don't know what it is. Is that a chair?
Oh, that's me. Sorry, that's my chair.
Luke's chair.
Oh, all right.
My chair is so. I've got to figure out how to keep it from background. I don't know how to yet.
So yeah, we've all had various experiences and journeys with the Schmodown.
I'll fight you behind closed doors, Luke. I don't need people knowing how badly you'll beat me. All right, but
And
no one will
think
ever
that
see the tape.
I'm a little flustered about the whole thing because like it hit, and like Sean and I have said, like we've known about it a little longer, but I still don't know what to say, really.
Yeah.
You know, because it's something you listen to so long, and I know that as long as this community endures, we will have more opportunities to talk about it and go into detail.
That happened at Spectacular. Maddie, please don't tell
that
us.
is not that's not an incorrect statement. We'll all hang out. This will continue. And something I was going to bring up earlier, for those that have like a thirst for movie trivia, that we all have this bug now, and the bug's not going to die. And I don't know what it's going to be or who's going to take the mantle, but just keep in contact with the friends you've made in the space. And I'm sure there will be some spiritual Schmodown living on something. Don't know who's going to be in charge, where it's going to be, but it'll live on.
Yeah.
It might be blind and have 4 broken limbs, but it will live.
There's talks, there's stuff behind the scenes, there's this, there's that. There's a lot of ideas in the air. I think the gist of it is we all love movies, and I think that's what holds this community together. Even though what brought the people together in groups was like Mark and Christian, and shout out to them, and everyone else involved in the Schmodown, and the Schmoes themselves. But we all love movies. That's why we're here. We're not here just for trivia. We're not here just to make random friends on the internet. It's because movies bring us together, and we still love seeing new movies, old movies, and this and that. And there's always going to be a competitive aspect, whether or not it becomes 100. Schmodown was like 300,000 subscribers, and still is like 290 at the moment. Even though like Luke was saying, like analytics, like it's losing subscribers. That's a freaking lot of people. That's a lot of people who clicked on your channel to say, I want to subscribe, who get those notifications, whether they watch or not. And so there's going to be places and avenues for us to share our knowledge and test our knowledge down the road, whether it be a fan league, whether it be a brand new league who takes up or other things going on. We will always have guys with beards and sunglasses on screen talking movie trivia.
Well, if I'm gonna say any encouragement for like any fan leagues or any league that comes out in the future,
thank you, Muddy.
First off, trivia is always first. Like, make sure the trivia is good, but spend time on making your show look good. Spend the time to ask the question, what can I do to make this show look great? Can I do different design work? Can I get someone to help me with making the channel look better? Like, yes, trivia is important. The game is important. But if your show doesn't look good, if you don't know how to do thumbnails, people are not going to watch, and it's not going to grow. The reason why I think people flocked to the Schmodown as much was the personalities. People were in love with the personalities, but it had quality. Even during the digital era, it had some quality around the design work that it had and the way it looked. And it wasn't just trivia on StreamYards. It was, let's spend some time making this look good. And I think that's what I encourage anyone who builds something, especially if it's online, make it look good. You can do it. OBS is out there. Like, you ever need help, I always put myself out there to help people because I like doing that. I'm just weird.
Now, that being said, there are only so many Brian Wards and Nerd Chronics out there in the world who can make thumbnails and editing choices the way they did. They are fantastic, and we love them for it. Now, there's a lot of people who can try, and yeah, what Luke said, though, if anyone's starting to put in the time and effort into putting forth a good product, but also make it fun and accessible to new people joining and have some fun. I think that's part of where maybe a small bit of not detriment, that's the wrong word, but a small bit of disconnect between the audience and like certain like stuff, like maybe the Star Wars matches is where you can't hop into it and be a part of it and be like, I could do that too. Because there's always that hope in the back of your brain, like I could do this too. And that's what hooks you. And so you just want to make sure the show itself is fun. And I think that's the key, and it's accessible to people. Part of it is visuals, part of it is, character, part of it's the trivia. It's a whole melding soup, and the Schmodown hit that. The Schmodown proper hit that for a short time, and it became a big following for a lot of people. And they
always be part of your soup.
Everyone watching, you could be part of my soup.
Also, something I think in the future for anyone who's creating something like the Schmodown, editing. Like, spend time making a show quick, make edits quick, do research on how to edit a YouTube video, do some research, watch some. I know it's weird to say this, but watch how Mr. Beast does his edits for a video and how quick he moves along a story, even though some people don't like Mr. Beast, whatever. But like on the editing side, watch how someone's able to keep an audience's attention. And I think that's something maybe the Schmodown struggled with over this past year, like trying to keep an audience eyes, having that attention, quick edits, give someone a show, because that's what people are going to watch.
Yes, all that. Jesse, did you go look up the quote just so that you could replace words for the Schmodown? That whole time I was talking, Jesse was just looking up the quote.
Our heroes feel like the best part of us, and stories feel perfect and powerful.
Because here they are.
Barney's was the spot. Barney's was really fun, especially at Spectacular. We went elsewhere when I went down a month ago. A couple different places for dinner and stuff, but it was a good time.
Was Barney's the spot that had the dry humping couple outside the window?
Yeah, it was.
All right.
I don't have that video. I need to hit Chris Lopez or Jeff
on that note.
video.
There's always more to say about the Schmodown, about the legacy. And even maybe now more than ever, because before I didn't want to be considered like Schmodown media, really, because we aren't that. But it has been a big part of all of our lives, and I think something that we will remember fondly. And as we have our open discussions on things like speakeasies and stuff like that, I'm sure it'll be a topic of conversation, and I'm sure we will host random trivia matches of our own on here at some point. I was going to try to do more of that. I thought it'd be fun, but it takes time
to
make content.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So
it's a lot of work.
But occasionally we'll do something, and the more people we have working on it, the more we can do things like that. So one of the ways that happens is just supporting the channel, subscribing, sharing, all that stuff, and any donations and things. But
yeah,
Sean,
absolutely. We would love the support for our own channel and what we're trying to grow, and how modest it is. But also continue to support the Schmodown in the final. We got 3 months left. They announced Spectacular will be on October the 7th. I don't know what matches they're gonna record. They have not recorded Spectacular yet, I'll tell you that. But they're gonna, and that's some behind the scenes stuff. But they there's a lot of titles involved. I'm sure as any Spectacular would be, it's going to be a big show. But in the lead up to that, whether we have storylines or not, the not the blood, but the sweat and the tears, maybe some blood, has gone into a lot of preparation for a lot of these competitors and these personalities.
For a nosebleed down there. So.
There you go. Blood, sweat, and tears have gone into a lot of the work that all these competitors, these personalities, these people you love, who you've followed for years now, and they still have matches coming out. And I, like I said, I have a couple matches coming out. I would love for the support, and please continue to support, whether you're going to do a full after show, whether you're just going to tweet about it. Be there for these people and these characters. We're not giving up on you. We are part of something that is sadly going away, but we're just as sad as everyone. And also, to Mark and Christian, like, this was their baby. Like, as upset as we are that this thing we love is going away, can you imagine how they feel about their baby is going away? So just keep that perspective in mind, and don't be angry that it's gone. Be happy that it happened. And that's always kind of like a words that I like to live by.
And be respectful and support the people that spearheaded this operation in their other avenues. Like, Mark is a stand-up comedian. Go see his shows when you have the opportunity. I'm waiting for him to come out to Seattle or Tacoma again and see a show. Christian's got his own solo show. If you're not a part of that, fix it. And there's so many people involved, Video Drew and Nerd Chronic, Eric, and their channel with the Video Chronic quizzes and stuff. There's no shortages of ways that the relationships we've built can't live on. We can't support each other and build each other up, and maybe we'll see new channels spread up from the ashes, like a phoenix. So that's one of the last things that I feel like saying. Take my Dutch angle out here as we do our sign-offs. for the first time in forever, I'm remembering that we have plugs that we can do. So let's start off with Luke. What do you want to plug?
All right, I'm plugging that we will have an Into the Schmodown Galaxy on Monday. It will be 6:30 Central Time, 4:30 Pacific Time. I've struggled with all the timing. We're going to do that. We don't know fully how we are moving in the future with the Into the Schmodown Galaxy. We are going the final plan, and I'll let y'all know because might as well. We are going to change the show in the future. We don't know when, we don't know in what capacity yet, but we have a plan coming up for that show to give us a weekly show to have just me and Eli to comment, talk with my wife as well. We're gonna have guests on it, just like we did with Into the Schmodown Galaxy, but we will see what that looks like. We don't know yet, just because everything is so sudden right now. We're still trying to move forward after that. Also, if you haven't already, go check out our reactions. We do Miss Marvel reactions. We did all Obi-Wan reactions. We do movie reviews. We do trailer reactions. Our channel is at, the last time I checked it, because we gained some subscribers since I was on the show, we're at 1,577 subscribers. So
what?
Yes,
it's been incredible, and I'm so thankful for everyone.
I would like to announce my early retirement from the YouTube sphere, and there will be no further effort being implicated into this channel.
We just got lucky. We really did. I don't get it. I really do not.
I guess my luck ran out. I met my wife, and the luck meter just ran out, and it was like, all right, that's all I can give you.
That's all you got. You used it all. Hold on to it.
Also,
way out of your league.
Also, if you haven't checked out our shorts, I've been releasing more YouTube shorts. I've done it for the past 2 months, like once a day, and it has really done a lot for our channel. Like, people have been subscribing like crazy.
You put out a ton of TikTok content, YouTube shorts, and all your stuff is really good. You do a great job. Jesse and I are over here like, I don't know, are we going to do a show this week? we'll try to get to it if we can. I'm busy, man. The reality of that statement was a punch in the dick. I got kids, both in sports. I got a 50-hour week job. I fell off a telephone pole the other day. I'm hurt. My foot's broken.
I'm just literally obsessed. I'm obsessed, and my wife wants to murder me half the time over it.
My arm looks okay. My elbow's still a little swollen.
Yeah, Sean's out here trying to die, and I'm just like, I'm sleepy tonight. No show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Haskell, for joining us. Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, all the friends of the show that were here for this video and have been here for many other videos. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, we got new types of content. We got our weekly reviews. We got the occasional trailer reactions. It's going to be a lot of stuff coming up this summer.
Miss Allison's You've Never Seen It. You've never seen it. I always tell her, I said, you got to give more inflection. You've never seen it?
Yeah, she's like, welcome to You've Never Seen It. And I was like,
more. Inflection. I need more. She had Big Moose Haas, friend of the Schmodown, on to talk about Office Space this week, and that is both on YouTube and all of these other Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the audio joints. You can find that. So check out Allison's podcast. It's a good time.
Oh, Garth sent in a stream live.
Oh, Garth, you did, you son of a bitch. Love you.
All right, who is it? Garth, if you're still in the chat, who do you want to hear this ASMR?
Yeah, Garth. Who do you want to talk and give us your Streamlabs out loud? Say it. Alan Smithy, we love you, buddy. And Smithy, part of the Outlaw Nation trivia league too, has been a frequent competitor. If you want some good trivia, there's a lot of great people in the Outlaw Nation too, and really like people like any success that I ever had in the FCL and whatever happens in the Schmodown was compliments of Jesse helping me out a lot, and a lot of the Outlaw Nation people. You give me a lot of good sparring sessions. Oh, you want me? Because I have
Mr. Low Timber.
Yeah. I have the sexy Low Timber. All right, let's go. From Mr. Garth Harkness Murray, who tipped $5. We appreciate you, buddy.
Deep breath, Sean.
I'm thankful for all the friends I've made online through the Schmodown. And although the show is ending, these friendships will last for many years. Everyone, please support all the players and fans on their channels and in their Patreons. We're family. Hashtag fam.
Now I have to take a cold shower. Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. It's been a blast. And Luke, you're welcome back on the show anytime. Thank you for joining us. And it's been a real good time. And bye.
This is the sound of dun, 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 dun. It's the freaking real show.